Good morning again, my precious friends. Thank you for joining Aunt Patty, Carnivore Hippie, once again. I just wanted to share with you that I've been talking with an acquaintance and she got very emotional because she had gone to a doctor's appointment and, of course, they weighed her, the evil beasts. And she found that she weighed more than she expected she would. She knew that she had probably gained some weight. She struggles with food addiction and eating inappropriate foods and cravings and things like that. And this is how I've come to know her through a shared struggle. And she was very emotional that she'd gained more weight than she thought she had. And it touched me so much, and I thought I really wanted to say something to her to kind of comfort her and help her. And I just told her my story and how I've lost, at this point now, 120 pounds. And I'm happy to say that, she was inspired and somewhat motivated by that. But then I thought, I remember feeling that way, feeling so devastated that no matter what I did, I didn't seem to be able to make any headway with the scale. And I thought, what did I need to hear when I was in that place? What would have helped me? What would have assisted me to stay on the track and not just throw my hands up? Because I had, at one point, just thrown my hands up. At one point, I had simply given up trying to lose any weight. I was over 300 pounds. And every time I thought I had found something that would help, I might lose a little bit of weight. And I would, of course, just gain it right back. Always ended up, like I said, at my highest, settling down around between 300 and 310 pounds. And I had just given up. I spent so many years at that weight. I figured I'm just going to be grateful that it's not any heavier than that. And I'm just going to live my best life in spite of it. And I decided to treat it as the same way as sort of like a physical deformity. Had I been born or through accident lost a limb or had a facial deformity or something like that, I would just learn to live with it and not care what other people thought and try not to care what the scale said. And I understood that there would be complications to my weight, but as I said, I had given up. Everything that the professionals had advised that I do either backfired in some way, like going plant-based backfired gigantically. It created a situation where I had IBS so bad it was almost disabling, and exacerbated my autoimmune disorders so that I was completely dependent on daily asthma medications. And it also created a candidiasis where I was pretty much dependent on antifungal medications. But anyway, I'd given up. I thought, I don't know why it doesn't work. Maybe it's something wrong with my brain. Maybe it's something wrong with my body. Maybe I have a heretofore undiagnosed some kind of metabolic disorder. Little did I know. And I just decided, well, this is how I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to have to live. And I'm just going to have to take the consequences and live the best I can in spite of it. And, that worked nominally well. It worked a little bit for a little while, basically. It did work for several years. But little did I know that as I was learning to cope with being fat, apparently, from all observation, my brain was beginning to suffer more and more and more until finally I got so depressed, along with being unable to recover from a couple of very serious personal tragedies in my life. I just, as I have said before, I wound up completely disabled with depression and IBS and asthma mostly. I just didn't do anything. And I got to the point where I prayed to die. I didn't want to have any emotions at all. None. And I spent all my time figuring out how to avoid thinking about how horrible I felt in my body, and how horrible I felt in my soul. What did I need to hear then? When that little ray of light from Dr. Berry started to peek over, that maybe there was another way. But it took a long time. I had been frightened by the medical establishment into thinking that, well, yeah, this is just a fad, and this is another one of those other fads that's just going to end up damaging me and making me even sicker. This I said to myself while eating a buttload of plants that actually gave me a buttload. Thanks for the too much information, Patty, right? So the cognitive dissonance was real, and it was serious. Cognitive dissonance can cause such grief in a person. The idea that something that you've trusted in and devoted a lot of your energy and time and life to is just wrong. And not only is it just wrong, but somebody might have actually been actively, with malice aforethought, lying to you and trying to accept that almost everything that you had trusted and devoted yourself to could be completely, absolutely 180 degrees out wrong. And that you may have wasted so much of your life. That can cause such profound grief. It can cause grief as profound as having a loved one pass away. It can cause disabling emotional symptoms. It can cause emotional symptoms that are so profound that they become physical symptoms. And that's where I was when I started learning the truth. And it took me a long time to have the guts to try. And then when I did try, I got really disappointed when I had a pretty decent weight loss at first, about 25 pounds, and then it stalled out. And I almost let myself believe, just like everything else, it's just a fad. It's just a lie. Nobody really knows why anybody gets fat. Nobody really knows how to treat it. I'm better off just spending my energy learning how to be the happiest fat person that I could possibly be, which really wasn't very happy because, as a fat person, you get blamed. You get called lazy. You get called gluttonous. You get called all sorts of things that really, in most cases, just aren't true. We get told that we're out of control when in reality, we're not out of control in the sense that we just have thrown caution to the winds and have decided, I'm just going to eat myself to death. No, it's much more insidious and profound than that. We're actually under the control of our gut biome and our brain dysfunction. It's a physical disability. That's what I want to tell you, right? And when you work so hard to make the changes and they don't work and they seem to fail, it's so disheartening. And one of the reasons is because we're so focused on basing everything by the number that shows up on that scale. Everything revolves around that number. And what I want to say to you today, the most important thing, what this is all leading up to, is there is so much more to this change in lifestyle, to this way of eating, than just what number pops up on the scale. So many people are so focused on that number. If they don't see the number that they want to see, or that they expect to see, or that they hope to see, they feel like a failure. It's grievous. It really is. Grief is more than just an emotion. It can be an actual physical disorder. It can be that profound. And I wish someone had told me then, this is so much bigger than that number on the scale. That number on the scale is the absolute least of your worries. And I am serious. If I had my druthers, I think most people who are trying to change their lifestyles to a low carb or more carnivorous lifestyle and are getting disappointed, I think most of those people should throw the frickin' thing away. Don't even get on it. I get on mine maybe about twice a month, just because I'm curious, because I see my body composition changing, and I'm curious. And sometimes I see my body composition changing. Like, for instance, I went down to a smaller size. I won't say a smaller size because they're the same size, but they're a slimmer style of pants. I wear jeans to work. And I had bought several pairs of jeans in a new size about 4 or 5 months ago, I guess. And I always buy my clothes at the Goodwill if I can, because I've been changing size so frequently that I just don't want to pay $30 or $40 for a pair of jeans that I'm only going to wear, for possibly 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months at the most. So I bought these jeans and they fit great at the time I bought them. This was like the end of last summer, like I say, about 4 months ago. And at the same time, I had been in Walmart, and I always go through the clearance aisle in Walmart because, again, I don't want to spend a lot of money on my clothes because my size changes a lot. And I'd found a very, very good quality brand of jeans on clearance for $13, and they were ordinarily like a $40 pair of jeans. Very good quality, nice fabric, and I couldn't try them on because the fitting rooms were still closed up and locked off because of the My Sharona. So I just thought, well, I'll bring them back if they don't fit. And I brought them home and I tried them on, and they really didn't fit. They really were just that much too small. And I discovered last week, I had promised you some good news in the last video. I figured out last week that I had decided, because the jeans I was wearing to work seemed baggy. I've been wearing them for several months, and for some reason they just weren't comfortable anymore. I just felt like I had, saggy elephant butt, and my legs were swimming in them. And so I thought, maybe I'll just try these other jeans. And you know what? Lo and behold, those are the jeans I'm wearing to work now. They're still size 16, but they were significantly slimmer cut. And those are the ones that fit. So I was curious. This is what I used my scale for. I thought, I wonder if my weight has gone down. And I went and weighed myself, and my weight hadn't gone down. But my body composition had obviously changed. And what does that mean? It's gotta mean that I'm adding muscle. And since muscle weighs about twice as much as fat, I must have lost a significant amount of adiposity. But it just was offset by the additional muscle. So I had gotten smaller, but I hadn't lost weight. If I had gone into this thinking, oh wow, I must have lost some more weight, this is going to be great, and I jumped on the scale and I had put all the significance into that number, then I would have been really disappointed. But I wasn't, because that's just a number. It's just a piece of information. Because even though the number didn't go down, it was still good news, because what I learned was I'm putting on muscle. That is awesome, to be 60 years old and to have that kind of strong evidence that I'm adding muscle to my body. Those people over 60 years old, I don't know if you know, sarcopenia is a big problem in general for people who are, over 60. So that made me happy. There's so much more. The number on the scale is the least of your worries. Please, please believe me. If you have to throw the scale out to escape, it's very tempting to try to climb on that scale every day and track it really closely just to see the trend going down or whatever. And if you don't see that, it feels so disheartening. What am I doing wrong? And you start to put everything into seeing that number that you dream of seeing on the scale. And it doesn't work. It's not good for you. Because you start to think, if I could just lose the weight, then you start to pin all your problems on the weight. All of my physical problems, all of my earthly problems, all of my personal problems are because I'm fat. And if I could just get the number on the scale down to where I dream it should be, everything will magically sort itself out. If I could just have the slim body and look like I dream of looking, that's going to solve all my problems. Because we've been told that all your problems are because you're fat. You're sick because you're fat. You're depressed because you're fat. You don't have a social life because you're fat. Now, unfortunately, human beings, being what they are, it might be that you don't have a social life because you're fat. But it's not the fatness itself. It's because of how you perceive yourself because of fatness. Because I know and have known plenty of fat people who have vibrant social lives, who cannot be found at home hardly at all because of their vibrant social lives. So don't fall for that. And I just want to say to you, why do you believe that simply not being fat is going to be solution to all your problems? I'm sure you've been told you have this physical problem because you're fat. You have this emotional problem because you're fat. You have this personal problem because you're fat. You have this and that problem because you're fat. If you just weren't fat, you wouldn't have any of these problems. You get told this by people who are professionals and who, in my opinion, really ought to know better. It doesn't take that much effort to learn to read the statistics and to learn to read the studies. There are studies coming out all the time that are debunking this idea that your problems happen because you get fat. What if you're not sick and depressed because you're fat? What if you're fat and depressed because you're sick? And what if you're sick because you've been putting in your body all kinds of things that you have been told by, again, people who should know better are okay? You've been told that the grain is okay and sugar in moderation is okay, as if really the vast majority of human beings can eat sugar in moderation. Okay, most of us can't. We're hardwired that way. I have I have come to believe that people who can eat sugar in moderation are the exceptions to the rule. They have some sort of thing going on, atypical mentation going on in their brain that allows people to eat sugar in moderation. They have a different pathway. Maybe it's evolutionary. Maybe human beings are evolving to tolerate sugar better. But you know what? That's going to happen 10,000 years down the road. It's not going to help you now. So you need to deal with what is real now. And that number on the scale is not helping you. And the idea that it's your own fault is not helping you. And the idea that you just have to get in control and have willpower is not helping you. None of that is going to help you. What is going to help you, what is going to help you is getting up the courage to try to do exactly the opposite of what your doctors have told you to do. That's what I did. I finally got so sick and tired and so willing to die that I thought, maybe I will have a heart attack from eating this way. And I will just die. And you know what? I was okay with that. But I had prayed, and I don't know how many of you have a Christian background or a Christian fundamental ideology, or how many of you don't. But whoever you want to credit it to, I prayed, I need something different. If I continue this way, I'm going to die. And I knew it. I would either actively die, or I would just emotionally die of attrition. I would just become a walking dead person, completely disabled and withdrawn from life. And I prayed, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm at my wit's end. I don't have any strength to do anything. And that's when I found Dr. Berry. And when I first started doing a low carb, I had lots of people trying to scare me out of it. And you know what? I thought, good, maybe I will die. That would be fine with me. Either way, either it's going to resolve my problems and I'm not going to be in this pain anymore, or it's going to kill me and I won't be in this pain anymore. Because I knew I was going to die the other way. I thought this other one is at least worth a try. Either it's going to work or it's going to kill me off quicker. Either way was great. So what I want to tell you, if you're struggling, don't believe the hype that all your problems will be solved if you just lose the weight. I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that you're not fat and depressed and sick. You're not sick and depressed because you're fat. You're fat and depressed because you're sick. And there's only one way out of it. The vegetables aren't going to cure you. The medications aren't going to cure you. The visits to the doctor aren't going to cure you. The lectures and finger waggling from the dietitians are not going to cure you. The only real true hope that you have, and I realize this is anecdotal, but keep in mind, the only evidence we have for any kind of nutrition since the 1920s, when we figured out how to measure micronutrient levels. Since the 1920s, there hasn't been any nutrition research that wasn't anecdotal. Sorry, there just hasn't been. So the anecdotes for low carb and carnivore diets are just as valid as the anecdotes for the vegan diet. Okay, and there's reasons why people who go from a standard American diet to a vegan diet will show some improvement, and we'll go into that in another video. I have touched upon it slightly. But the number on the scale and the shape of your body are not what you should be focusing on. Because your body Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Your body has to heal before it can lose weight. Most people who are fat have a lot of physical bodily inflammation, and your body simply cannot cope with that inflammation and undergo the processes and and activate the metabolic pathways that are necessary to start metabolizing fat from your fat stores. It simply can't do it all at once. You need to give your body time to heal. And you know what? Sometimes it takes an annoyingly long period of time. I've been doing carnivore for 2 years, and I have been pretty much stalled at my current weight between 185 and 190 for 2 years. And yet, my body composition is changing. And you know, my body composition stayed pretty similar for about the first 18 months, 12 to 18 months. Didn't have much change. Because even though a lot of my problems had resolved with low carb, there were still some things going on that carnivore is correcting. And now, as long as I stay adherent, it takes a long time. Of course, the more weight you lose, the more closer you get to your ideal weight, the slower it goes. This is normal. But I have often said before, if I have to stay this weight for the rest of my life, you know what? There's so much more I've gained. If I have to live with, flappy tricep folds and a belly flap, they call it an apron. If I have to live with that for the rest of my life, skin folds and flaps and skin bulges and stuff like that, if I have to live with those for the rest of my life, there's more important things than being able to wear a bikini in a YouTube video and feeling stoked about it. What if you could get to a place where you could be happy inside whatever body reality has put you in? What if you could go for a place where you're just nothing but frustrated, and maybe so frustrated you'd rather die than continue on? What if you could go from there to being fine, being happy, having joy again? Say, yeah, this isn't the body that I would pick, but you know what? It's mine, and it works, and I can do what I want to do, and I can achieve what I want to achieve, and I can look forward to tomorrow with hope, and I can look towards tomorrow with a positive attitude, and I can wake up in the morning and say, yay, I get to get up and accomplish something and feel good about it. And for me, I get to come on here and talk to somebody who needs to hear this. It happened for me. I did not believe it was possible, and it happened to me. It happened for me. I'm living it right now. And it took a couple of years, and I had to work through the disappointment, and I had to work through my focus. I had to work away from focusing on that number. That number is not going to solve your problems. That number is not going to fix your life. That number, in the big scheme of things, is not important. Fixing the inflammation in your brain and in the rest of your body, treating your pain, getting your brain chemistry normalized, getting off your medications, all of those things are the things that are going to improve your quality of life and make you capable of interacting and moving through the world in an effective manner again. That number on the scale is not going to do that for you. I promise you, I swear to you, it is not going to fix anything. If you're fixated on that number, you're doing yourself a disservice. Anyway, that's all. This video is long enough. There's so much more to this than that number on the scale and whether or not you can wear a bikini. Please let go of that. It will be the best decision you have ever made. I love you all. I hope whoever needs to hear this can find it. Peace, love, and meat. And I will talk to you again soon.